which is in my hand, my closed fist, and I'm going to throw it to the spider web of the spider who has set up a home in front of my garage. It's a very beautiful web, and here we go. The moth has been captured. It's stuck in the web right in the middle, and here comes the spider at breakneck speed towards the moth. Get ready. This is incredible. The spider is all over the moth. I've never seen anything this vicious for something so small. The moth is small, but when you look at its body, it's a monster compared to the spider, really. The spider has his jaws, or whatever counts for jaws for a spider, buried in the moth. The moth's wings are beating rapidly. I'm going to step around for another angle here to see if we can see anything different. The moth is just fighting for its life right now. Here's another view, and actually, you know what? Things look better on the other side from what I can tell. But here's a really good close-up shot of what's happening. Now, from what I can tell, the moth has not slowed down yet. Although, actually, you know what? Yep, the moth's wing is slowing down. Its left wing, what's the left wing on this side, is slowed down. The right wing has come down to a slow vibration. And, you know what? The moth is down for the count. This spider owes me a favor, I think. The moth's, what counts as the moth's wing, is come down to a slow beat. The moth is just about out of juice. This might seem cruel and violent and vicious, but this is something that happens every day. And the spider needs to eat too. The spider has a family, I'm sure. And the moth was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. What you can't see on this screen right now is the very large shadow, maybe about 2 feet wide, being cast onto the garage. That's actually right in front of me. This shadow is, like I said, it's about 2 feet wide, and it's really serving to make this a little bit more realistic, to see, large forms moving as opposed to these really two small creatures that people would normally swat away at. The moth has very little life in it at this point. It's twitching now and then. It just moved its legs. The spider is giving it an extra squeeze now. And I could be wrong, but I think the spider is actually getting ready to wrap it up or go for another finishing strike. It's hard to tell. It's a very sticky web, so we know the moth isn't going anywhere, and I don't think the moth has the energy to go anywhere if it could break free from the web at this point. Okay, let's take another shot from the other side. This is a very meaningful occasion for both of these creatures. For the spider, it's the continuation of its life and its livelihood. For the moth, it's, reach the end of its life. But it's a big moth. It's probably had a good life. I'm sure it's laid lots and lots of eggs. And yep, the spider is, you can see the spider twisting the moth around. Lots of little bits of dust just flying off. And we're going for an extreme close-up here. This is the money shot right here, I think. The spider has basically mounted the moth, and it might not show up in the camera's resolution. Oh, you can see the spider. The spider has started shooting some webs from the spinnerets in its rear abdomen. The moth is getting wrapped up. You can actually see, let's see, we'll wait for the spider, he or she, to come around again. But you get a nice, bright, gleaming, fresh spider webs coming from the spider, and the spider is wrapping the moth up right now. Now that's to me that looks like a very tenuous connection. I'm going to back up a little and give you an idea for the scale of what's going on here. My left forearm is about, I don't know, a foot long. So let's see if I can just give you an idea of the scale here. I can't really get my whole forearm into the view of this video, but what you're seeing here is happening on the scale of basically an inch and a half. Let's come around. Now this web in this area here, it's really tattered up. The rest of the web, which is probably not too visible, looks very organized. This web was not here as of this morning. The lawn guys knocked it down when they were cleaning up around here, but you know, the spider just goes about its business and it rebuilds. It doesn't think about what has to get done. It doesn't worry. It just builds because that's how it survives. Now at this point, the spider is just really rotating itself around the moth, spinning the moth around, and really getting a nice, there's a very thin sheen of a cocoon, I guess you could say, around the moth right now. And the webs coming out of the spinneret is very visible. Okay, now the moth, and it's not very visible here in this lighting, but the moth is basically hanging from one critical part of the web here, and this web goes all the way up, and it goes all the way up to the gutter. There's a baseline up there, and then it comes down here. You can definitely see the spider is creating a reinforcing line to support the moth, which just broke. spider is trying to, I think he or she is trying to angle the moth to lift the body up, to pivot it upwards by putting a line at the bottom and then just hauling up to get it more caught up in the web. And it's just absolutely incredible to watch this creature do this. This is just instinct. Okay. Spider is very strong, pulling the moth towards the center of the web. I guess one other point of interest here: the spider does have a little snack over here in the middle of the web. And the moth was down here. Now the moth is up there. And again, there's a very dramatic shadow that's being cast onto the garage, which unfortunately is not getting captured in the video here. But if people were walking by, they would probably be startled by a very large shadow of a spider. So I don't know what the spider is doing now, but the moth is very firmly secured, I think. A little bit earlier last night, I tried throwing the spider a little bit of salad. That's actually from a little evergreen tree over here. So I get the impression that the spider is maybe reinforcing the center of the web to hold the moth. The spider is lifting the moth up. This is going to be, look at that. Look at that. This is a trophy for the spider. And to my two friends who are deathly afraid of spiders, and you both know who you are, I just wanted to point out that my hand is literally no more than 4 inches away from all of this while this is happening. The moth is in the center of the spider web. I'm just going to zoom this out for some perspective. This is basically something you don't get to see every day. So we decided to steer fate a little bit and make it happen ourselves. Now I think the weight of the moth has actually torn a hole in the center of the web, so it makes sense that the spider has been trying to reinforce the center before bringing the moth in. And I'm going to do a really, well, there's no zoom. There's no better zoom than a manual zoom. So to get in really close, I don't know if this will be visible, but the spider is just really sinking its fangs into the tip of the moth there. And I certainly apologize to the spider if this light is hurting its eyes. So there you have it.